Good afternoon. In this video, I want to explain why I'm starting to invest more in private pre-IPO companies as opposed to public companies. So I want to explain the shifts that are driving that strategy, how they may impact you, and then finally the different routes and options available out there if you do want to invest in those earlier stage companies. Also, this guava rose drink, not sponsored, it is fantastic. With that in mind, all of this is weird for me. Like making this video is weird for me because I'm the stock market guy. When I was 13, I wrote a book about stock market investing for teens. I've been doing this for a long time and I've beat the market. Now, is the reason I've beat the market out of complete luck more than anything? Yes. But basically, I have made good money in the market. So this shift into private is not something that I take lightly, and it's driven by shifts on the personal side and me having more access and more capital to deploy, which makes investing in an earlier stage, and that can be late stage, early stage, but still earlier stage companies, much more accessible. But then also a few macro level trends that I want to break down now. Now, the core structural shift is that how private versus public companies fundraise and operate today is vastly different than it's been if you go back 10, 20, 50 plus years. And the main difference is that the private markets are so large nowadays. There is such a volume of individuals who have tons of money and wealth funds and family offices and foreign investment funds and all these groups that can provide the capital that the public markets used to without all the regulation, the risk, and the scrutiny. So we talk about gold on this channel a lot, and I want to share something that fits that perfectly, which is that you can now buy gold, Bitcoin, and dollars side by side in one wallet on your phone. And you can do that on Rumble Wallet, which gives you 3 kinds of money in one place. Number 1, Bitcoin. Number 2, a stable coin pegged to the US dollar. And number 3, Tether Gold, which is digital gold that is tied to real physical gold. So if you like the idea of a hedge, but you don't want to physically deal with storing bars somewhere, then this is a way to hold gold exposure right along with everything else. And it's a non-custodial wallet. That means you directly own your funds, not a platform, not a bank. You are in control. And funding it is easy. It connects with MoonPay, so it's your normal debit card, credit card, or bank account to add funds on your phone like you're used to. And for a limited time, if you download Rumble Wallet and use my code JOHNLAW5, that is JONLAW 5, you get $5 in US stablecoin or USAT to start you off. And you can use the Rumble Wallet to support creators that you want to tip directly. So you can go ahead and scan this QR code, go to this link on the screen or the link in the description. Then you download the wallet and use the promo code JOHNLAW5 to claim your $5 in US stablecoin. That is limited time and first come, first serve, so you gotta move on it. So get started with Rumble Wallet today. Terms and conditions do apply, and you can read all the details at this link on the screen or in the description. And that said, let's get back to the video. Because that's the fact of the matter. Going public is annoying. You have to disclose everything all the time. You have to change the whole structure of your company. So why do companies do that? A few reasons, right? But the main one is to raise money. They are fundraising. And then the other main reason attached to that is they are raising money so they can exit, right? Exit liquidity for early stage employees, for the founders. But if suddenly you have access to all of this capital on the private market, and you can sell shares on the private market, then suddenly you have the liquidity, you have the capital. Why do you actually need to go public, or at least on the same time horizon? Well, the answer is you don't. And you look at companies like Stripe is maybe the quintessential example. They could have gone public who knows how long ago. Everyone wants an IPO of theirs. They do really well, but they just keep raising billions, if not tens of billions of dollars on the private markets. And now they're worth hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. Whereas 30 years ago, they would have gone public as a $2 billion company to get money from from retail, essentially. And same thing with OpenAI, right? With SpaceX, with Anthropic. These are all companies that'll probably go public at above $1 trillion valuations. Which means for them to do a 10x, they have to find $9 trillion of money, right? They have to 10x in value. And that means for them to do a 10x, right, for you to make 1,000% return, which is an awesome return, they would have to go find $9 trillion of money. Meanwhile, there are private investors who bought at 100 million, a billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, 500 billion, that are all making their 10 or 50 or 100x plus return because they just got in earlier. But what's the golden rule of finance, right? More risk, more reward. So if you get in earlier, the price you pay for that is more risk. These companies are obviously more likely to fail. But another golden rule of finance, well, if you want to hedge against risk, what do? Well, either you have alpha, right? You have private information that lets you make better decisions, or you just place more bets. More volume negates risk. That is the rule of diversity. So that is the mindset that I'm starting to take and apply to private investing, and private investing critically in later stage companies, because that is pretty accessible. Late stage private is very different from early stage private. And even as a retail investor now, you can get in on that. Even if you're not going into private funds or earlier stage venture stuff, you can, with no minimums, go in the stock market today and you can buy your pre-IPO OpenAI shares, or at least exposure to those shares. Now there's a whole other world of, discussions and disclaimers that has to go on there, which I'm not going to cover in this video. This is just a discussion on the subject. But at a high level, number one, companies are going public later by function of the way capital markets are organized today. And that means less upside, generally speaking, to public investors in a vacuum versus those companies going public earlier. And then number two, again, late stage private is not the same as early stage private. Investing in $50 billion private companies is not the same as writing a seed check into a college kid and his vibe coded project. Now, is there still, despite all of that, a lot more risk in doing something outside of the public markets? Yes, absolutely. And part of the reason I'm doing that, and I wasn't before, simply because I have more money to do so, to diversify across a broader range of bets. And then also, I don't need the liquidity. If it takes 4 years, 6 years, 8 years to become liquid, that's fine. Although there are liquid ways to do it that I'll also talk about right now. So with that in mind, that's my whole spiel on generally how I'm feeling there, why I'm moving into this space. And then now I want to explain exactly how you can and the different options to do so. And there are a few distinct, very different ways to do this. Number one, the most accessible and the no minimum way to do it is funds like the RVI Robinhood fund that recently came out. And then USVC is another one. These are funds that invest in private companies but let you, as a non-accredited investor, which basically means you have under $1 million in assets, you make under 200 grand a year, buy into them. And USVC is structured more like a venture fund. They go buy the secondaries or the other shares of private companies. RVI is like a stock. It has a price that fluctuates and goes up and down. It's also extremely volatile. But both of those funds go and then buy those shares for you, and you can own a bit of the pie by buying however much you want. On the RVI side, literally you can put in $1. On the USVC side, I think it's like a minimum of $500. So that is the, technically speaking, easiest, highest liquidity way to do something like that, just because you don't have to be accredited, which is a major inhibitor for just about everyone. But if you are accredited, so you have over $1 million, you make a lot of money, then you can start to invest either directly in buying secondary shares of companies that trade on a few marketplaces, and we'll put those on the screen here, just a few of the popular ones. I'm not sponsored, I'm not endorsing any of these. Or you can start to personally invest in private funds where other people, so angel investors or venture capitalists or venture capital firms, go and invest that money on your behalf. So again, the big spread there is either you directly buy secondary shares, so shares that are being traded on these markets privately, or you invest privately in funds where other people go and do that either directly or indirectly in terms of how they buy shares in those companies on your behalf. In both those cases, again, you do have to be accredited. That ranges from a few $1,000 as a minimum up to 25 grand to 50 grand is more normal on the secondary side. And then up from there, really the sky is the limit in terms of how much you could spend if you did want to. So that's something you can explore if it's a fit for you at some points. That's not going to be a fit for 99% of you, but I think it is useful to think about the framing of public versus private markets and kind of understand how capital nowadays is flowing, because that should at some level regulate the decisions you make, whether in your investments or just your career in the company you choose to work at, and so on. Anyway, y'all, that is the spiel for today. I wish you a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.